Hello and welcome back. In this lecture, let's see how we can add a new course using NgRx Data in our Angular application. So let's go to our application first. And here we have this create course button. When I click on this create course button, it opens this form. In this form, we have to enter the course details. And when this create course button is clicked, we want to create a new course. So when this create course button is clicked, what we are doing is in our application. So let me go ahead and let me close these files for now. Okay, so in the courses folder, we have a component called add course. So we are going to open this add course component, and in there, if I go to add course component.html, there you will notice that when this form is submitted, here we have the form, and when this form is submitted, we are calling this on create or update course method. So let's go to TS file, and in there, let's go to on create or update course method. Let me scroll down here, and here we have on create or update course method. Inside this, we are editing the course if the course is in edit mode. Otherwise, we are creating the course. Okay. So from here, what we are going to do is, first of all, again, first we are going to inject an instance of our course entity service. So instead of course service, I'm going to inject an instance of course entity service, which should be of type course entity service. And to use it, we also need to import it. Okay, here I have injected an instance of course entity service. Now, if I scroll down, there are two places where we might be using it. Okay, I need this course service as well because there I have some methods. So maybe I'll copy this and I'll revert back the changes. I'll get back course service, and then I'll also add course entity service. And we need to import this course entity service. All right, let me copy this course entity service. Let's scroll down where we are creating the course. So inside this else part, what I'm going to do is I'll say this dot course entity service dot, and I want to add a new course. So here I'll call the add method. Again, this add method is provided by Entity Collection Service base. So we are going to use this add method. To this add method, we need to pass the entity object which we want to create. Here I am going to pass this dot course form. Let's see if it allows that. So here I'll say this dot course form, and you see we have an error because this course form is of type any, but here to this add method we need to pass a course object which is of type course. So that's why we have the error. So how we can solve this error? So for that, here I'll create a variable. I'll call it as course. You can name it anything, and this is going to be of type course. And to this I'm going to assign this dot course form dot value. So we are going to read the value object from the course form that we are assigning to this course variable, and I'm going to pass this course variable as an argument to this add method. With this, let's save the changes. Let's see if everything has been compiled successfully. So you can see the application has been compiled successfully. Let's go to our application now, and here let me log in a user. All right, let's go to course page, and there let me click on this create course button, and we also open the network tab. Let's clear everything here, and here let me try to create a course. Here I'll try to create a test course, and let's try to click on this create course button. When I click on this create course button, you will see that a request has been sent, but again this request is sent to this URL. Let me move it to the bottom. So again, you will see that here a post request is getting sent to http localhost 4200 /API /courses. So here also what we need to do is we need to override this add method in our data service, because by default this add method is going to make an API call to root URL /API /entity name, but that we don't want. We want to make an API call to our Firebase URL, and for that we are going to override this add method. So again, let's go to our services. Let's go to CourseDataService.ts, and there, just like how we have overridden getAll method, in the same way we are also going to override this add method. Okay, and here this options is optional. If you want, you can keep it, but I'm going to remove it from here. And this add method, it is going to return an observable with the course object which has been just created. Okay, so again, I'll go to our CourseService.ts, which we have created in our previous sections, and there I have this create course method. From there, I'm going to copy these two lines and I'll paste it here. So here I'm creating the URL. Basically, we want to make a post request to this URL. So we want to make a post request to courses collection. So here I'm creating the URL. Then using this post method of HTTP client, we are specifying the URL and we are specifying the entity which we want to create in the backend in our Firebase database. And here, instead of course, we are going to pass this entity, which is of type course. Okay, and from this function, if you see, we need to return an observable of course. But when we are making a post request to Firebase database, there, when a new course will be created, it is simply going to return us an object like this. And in that object, we will have a name property, which will be assigned with the ID of the newly created course. So here we know that this post method is going to return us an observable. So on that, I'll use this pipe operator. And inside that pipe operator, I'm going to use the map operator. This map operator is going to receive the data. So it is going to receive that object which has been returned by Firebase after creating the course. Okay, so using that, we are going to create a new object, a new course object. So from here, I'm going to return an object. In that object, I'm going to have all the properties from this course entity which we are creating. So I will simply use spread operator on that entity. So this entity will have all the fields which we have passed from the course form, like the title of the course, the description of the course, the author of the course, price and image. But it will not have the ID. That ID we are going to read from here. So to get the ID, we'll say ID equals data. So this data is going to receive an object where we will have a name property, and that name property will be assigned with the ID of the newly created course. So here I'll say data.name. And now this is a proper course object where we have all the course properties, including the ID of the course, and that we want to return from here. Okay, with this, let's save the changes and let's test the functionality. So let's go to our application. Let me close developer console for now, and let's try to create a new course. So here, let's say the course name is Introduction to Microsoft SQL. Let's add some description. Let's say author is Jane Smith and price is 49.99. Let's also choose an image. And let's click on this create course button, and let's see if the course is created or not. So now you can see the course has been created. Let me move it to the right. So if I go to network tab now, okay, so here I cannot show you to which URL the request was made, but that was made to Firebase API, that's for sure. Let's go to Redux Dev Toolkit. And there, when we have created this course, you can see that there are two actions which has been dispatched. First, this action save add one was dispatched, and this action made an API call. Basically, it was used for handling the side effect for making the HTTP request from our application to the Firebase API. And once that was successful, it again dispatched another action, which is this success action. And once this success action was dispatched, behind the scenes, the store was also updated. So if I go to our course entity, there in the entities, now we should have 5 courses. So this is the 5th course which we have just added, which is Introduction to MS SQL. So in this way, in order to create a new entity, what we have done is we have overridden this add method, and wherever we want to create a new entity, in our case, wherever we want to create a new course, we can call this add method. So we wanted to create the new course inside this add course component. So there we are calling that add method, and to that we are passing the course object with which we want to create a new course in the backend. If I go back to our application and if I reload the page, we should still see that MS SQL course here because it is fetching from database. So again, you see, when we are using NgRx data, everything happens behind the scenes. The HTTP calls has been made behind the scenes. It created a new record in the backend. It updated the store. So everything happened behind the scenes. We do not have to create any action for that or any effect for that or any reducer for that. Everything is taken care by NgRx data. And this is the advantage which we get when we use NgRx data. It makes developers' life easier because as a developer, we have to write less code and we can be more productive. So in this lecture, we learned how we can create a new entity using NgRx data. In the next lecture, let's see how we can update an entity. This is all from this lecture. Thank you for listening and have a great day.